Welcome to the Hawaii Health Data Warehouse's Coffee Break Monthly webinar series. I'm Julia Chosey, a public health epidemiologist with the Hawaii Health Data Warehouse, or HHDW. Today, we're going to be exploring the latest death record data system collected as part of the National Vital Statistics System. So just a little history, there are records of birth and death data collection all the way back to the start of the United States, but it took a little time to build an official system to collect vital statistics. Here are a few of the milestones. So in 1902, the US Census Bureau was authorized to obtain death data for the residents of the country. And then the National Birth Registration System was established in 1915. And by 1933, all of the states were registering their live births and deaths. This is obviously very important public health information for us to have. And then in 1960, there was actually a center, the National Center for Health Statistics, was established to help oversee the National Vital Statistics System. In Hawaii, the death records are managed by the Office of Health Status Monitoring in the Hawaii State Department of Health. So death record data is extracted from death certificates that are completed for every death occurring in the state. Information is collected about the decedent as well as about the death itself, including things like date, location, and causes of death. Causes of death are obviously a very important part of the death certificate. So these are generally determined by a physician, advanced practice registered nurse, medical examiner, or coroner. And there is a system of coding called the International Classification of Diseases, and we're at the 10th revision, so ICD-10. That is what is used to code the cause of death. So multiple causes of death can be coded, but generally a single cause of death known as the underlying cause of death is identified. So according to the World Health Organization, this is the disease or injury which initiated the train of events leading directly to death, or the circumstances of the accident and violence which produced the fatal injury. So we collect all the data, all the different possible causes of death, but in general, the death certificates identify one as the underlying cause of death. And when you're working in the system on hhdw.org, our build your own report function uses that underlying cause of death. So HHDW houses death record data for the state from 2000 to 2024. We do have suppression criteria that we follow based on CDC regulations. So specifically, if there's a death count between 1 and 9, that's suppressed for confidentiality, and rates based on cells with counts of less than 20 are suppressed for statistical reliability. We also do help facilitate record level vital statistics requests. As we'll see when we go to the live site, there are 3 types of death queries available in HHDW. First, there are counts, and then there are population rates. And then third, there are population rates by Department of Health, race, ethnicity. And we'll talk about the differences between these types of queries next. Starting with death counts, you can query counts or number of deaths by a variety of dimensions we'll review. The first is to establish the cause of death. In HHTW, there are 5 options for choosing the cause of death. The first is deaths from all causes. And then the next 3 are grouped causes of death from the National Center for Health Statistics. And that last option is where you can enter specific ICD-10 codes identifying the cause of death that you're interested in. Taking a closer look at those National Center for Health Statistics causes of death, you'll see a list of causes of death, and you can select one or more options from that list. The main one, the NCHS leading causes of death, includes the top 51 causes of death. But there's also a list of 39 or 113, which of course gives you just a different bit of granularity depending on what you're interested in. For the counts query, you can look at the data by a variety of dimensions. So for geography, you can look at the location of the death or the residence of the decedent. For the location of death, counts are available at state and county island level, meaning that for those counts, even if it's a tourist who passes away, that is included in that count. You can also restrict it to people who are residents of the state. And at that level, you can get more detailed geography, so down to the primary care service area. You can also, of course, query the data by year, both individual years or aggregates, and you can explore the data by characteristics of the decedent, including age, sex, race, ethnicity, marital status, military status. And so those are available for the death counts. We do provide two different sets of rates. So we have general population rates, and then we have population by DOH race ethnicity. Each of these has two options. The first is the crude death rate. So this is the number of deaths per 100,000 population. This is just your basic rate. If you're interested in seeing anything age specific, for example, if you were only interested in deaths among people 65 years and older, you would use this, the crude rate. The age-adjusted death rate controls for differences in the age distribution within a population. So the estimates you'll see here are better used for comparison across geographic areas. The rates are age-adjusted using the 2000 US standard population, and we'll look at the differences between the population rates versus the population rates by DOH race ethnicity in a minute. Okay, so in HHDW, when you're looking at the rates as opposed to the counts, when you're looking at the rates, it can be explored by geography, year, and age or sex of the decedent. These are more limited than we see for the death counts because these require estimates of population size and composition for the denominator. Counts are, a lot easier to get, so we have more options if you're exploring counts. But we still have quite a few options for rates. Some things to consider is that the numerator includes deaths among residents only. So for our rates, if a tourist is here and died, that is not included in our rates. And here we can see the difference between population rates and population rates by DOH race ethnicity. So for population rates, the denominator is based on population estimates from the US Census. And these include estimates for the population by age and sex. But as we all know, our diverse population here, the census race ethnicity classifications aren't always very helpful. So for the second set of rates, the DOH race ethnicity rates, the denominator is based on a special 5-year aggregate that is created for HHDW by the census using the algorithm that the Office of Health Status Monitoring uses. So that is the group that maintains our vital records. So I'll show you that algorithm in a minute, but we have been able to obtain these special aggregates. This gives us a little bit more granular race ethnicity starting in 2010. So the death rates by DOH race ethnicity are only available from 2010 forward. This is the Office of Health Status Monitoring race ethnicity algorithm. So the death certificate allows up to 4 race ethnicities to be captured. But in order to code each person to a single race ethnicity, there need to be a set of rules in place. And this is what is used in Hawaii. In the case where more than one race ethnicity is listed, essentially if any of them are Hawaiian, then Hawaiian is coded. If there's a non-white race ethnicity listed with white, we code the non-white option. And then the last 2 rules are about the order of selection. But this algorithm allows us to look at data by these 10 race classifications. That really helps, again, given the diversity of our population. Here is our HHDW homepage. You can see that you can quickly link to Hawaii Health Matters. You can jump right in and build your own report. We also have some tutorials here that are helpful if you're a new user. And down here, we have news and announcements. This is where you can register for the coffee break. We also have featured content. So that's always changing. But what we're really interested in is the death record data. So we're going to go up here to data sources and choose death data. And what we'll see here, again, is just a little bit of overview about the death data, kind of like what I just went over. And it talks about the ICD-10 codes. There's also links to a tool on CDC where you can get information about death data. And then we have our data release notes, which actually this year, so these notes are for any big changes that happen with a new year of data. And nothing changed with our vital statistics this year. So I know our data release notes for 2024, there's nothing there that you need to worry about. Below this, we have special topics. So in addition to the regular death data set, we also get information about fetal deaths. And if you were interested in that, you can click here, and this will give you some information about the definition of fetal deaths and show you the number of fetal deaths per year. We also have a report, and the updated report with the 2024 data will be coming soon. Similar to that, we also have a special section for data on induced termination of pregnancy, which was abortion. So here you'll see a very similar page where you can get a little information about ITOPS and the number of ITOPS. And again, we do have a data report. The fetal death and ITOPS data you can't query those. So those reports are all that are available, but they're pretty comprehensive reports. For the overall death data, here you can see, again, the number of deaths per year. We also have these leading causes of death reports. So these are modeled after reports that are put out each year by the National Vital Statistics System. So it lets you look at the leading causes of death by state, county, sex, race, ethnicity, and age group. So these are really very good comprehensive reports. So for example, here we can see the 10 leading causes of death by sex for the state of Hawaii. So those are available here. And again, we will have that updated with the 2024 data soon. Okay, but if you're interested in actually looking at the data, we would want to go to here, this build a custom death report. This is where we'll see those different options. So we have the counts option, and then we have the two types of rates. Let's take a look at the counts first. So this is going to be your default report, and this will show you the number of deaths per year for the last 3 years. So you can see here, you can hover over and get the number. There's also the data table. You can export that to Excel. Below here, we have, again, some additional information about the death certificates. We also have a suggested citation if you are interested in using any of this data. So this is the default report, but we can go here to this modify query, and we can do a lot with it. So the first is that cause of death. And these, you can see here, the National Center for Health Statistics, there are 3 categorizations, or our ICD-10 option. For right now, I'm just going to leave it as all causes. And then here again, we have our geographic area. So again, for the counts, we can include deaths from people that do not reside in Hawaii, tourists. So that would be the death occurrence. If you were only interested in people that are residents of Hawaii, you can limit the geography like this. Then is the year, so you can change whatever year you're interested in, whether it's single years or aggregate. There's also age, group, sex, and those demographic characteristics that I mentioned. So all of these steps, these 6 are really filters, so you don't have to do anything to them. It's not a step you have to take. Those are optional filters. But when you get down to step 7, that's really where you're telling the system how you want to see the data. So it showed us by default, it showed us the data by year. Let's take a look at the data by age group. So now we can see the number of deaths in each of these 5-year age groups. And again, here's our chart, and we have a data table below. This is a pretty typical curve that you see for all-cause mortality. Let's look at it, though, in another way. So if you see all of these options, these are all different ways that you can look at these counts. So let's look at it by race, ethnicity. And in this system, wherever you see these three dots, it means that you can sort, you can manipulate the data. So particularly when I'm looking at race, ethnicity, I find it's a very nice tool to be able to use. So here we can see, again, these are number of deaths. So one of the reasons that we see very few American Indian and Alaska Native deaths is because that's a very small population here in Hawaii. We'll be looking at rates next. But this is helpful information. And then I also wanted to show you, again, for those of you who are familiar, we can actually look at the data by two different dimensions. So now what we're looking at is number of deaths by race, ethnicity, but also by sex. So you can see that there's more Japanese females, whereas there's more white males than white females. So again, this just shows you sort of the power of this data query system. All right, let's jump into the rates. So we will look at crude death rates. And again, so this is showing you the crude death rate for the 3 most recent years for the state. When you want to get in there and look at things a little differently, you just click that modify query. I think in this, let's see, I was interested in looking at, yes, motor vehicle accidents. So we're going to look at a query for deaths due to motor vehicle accidents. I'm going to leave it at deaths occurring in the state. Here, though, I'm going to go ahead and select all of the years of data. So what this is going to show us is basically a trend. And I'm going to leave it by year because I want to see it by each year. And you can also change how the chart displays. You can do, in fact, let's do a line. This is sometimes an easier way to look at a trend. So we can see here the change in death rate due to motor vehicle accidents. And it looks like it is going down, which is great. So that gives us a good picture of what's happening with this health indicator. Okay, I want to show you, let's peek at age adjusted. I want to show you how to look at the data by county or geography in general. So here I am, I'm in the age adjusted death rate. This time I'm going to look at deaths due to diabetes, but I'm interested in comparing the counties. So here I'm going to select county. I want to see all of the counties, so I don't need to select anything in that pop-up box. We'll keep the years as they are, but in this case, I want to see the data by geography. So now we can see, again, we have a chart which has the data pop-ups. We have the data table here, and then we also have a map. So this shows us the death rate in a color scheme where the darkest is the highest rate. So this is just another good tool to have. And then last, we will quickly look at these age-adjusted rates by DOH race ethnicity. So here we're seeing, again, just the death rate, and we can sort it so we can get a better idea. And we can see that other Pacific Islanders actually have the highest age-adjusted death rate due to all causes. And you can see that information here is you get the rate and you get the confidence interval, the number of deaths and the population count. And here too, you could, so for example, let's look at deaths due to influenza and pneumonia. So now we're going to see the same thing. It's the 3 most recent years of data by race ethnicity for influenza and pneumonia. And you will get suppressed data because sometimes these populations are just, the number of deaths in that population is too small to be reported, but you can always add more years. I do want to remind you that we do have a lot of vital statistics indicators in Hawaii Health Matters too, and we are working on updating those. So keep your eye out for those. And I do have an activity. So if you'd like to stay on and give it a try, please do. Okay, let's go through these real quick. The first question asks about how many deaths due to Alzheimer's disease were there in Hawaii in 2024. So this is asking for a count. We're going to modify our query, look at our causes of death, and here we see Alzheimer's disease. And we're looking at the state overall. So in 2024, we can see that there were 509 deaths due to Alzheimer's disease. The next question asks which county had the highest age-adjusted death rate due to accidents. So we're going to go to our age-adjusted death rates. We're going to modify our query. This question is asking about accidents or unintentional injuries. And it's also asking about county. So we are going to change this to county. And we are only looking at the most recent year, 2024. So here also we need to let it know that we want to see the data by geography. And here we can see the chart and the table, and it looks like Hawaii County has the highest age-adjusted death rate due to accidents. And then last, it asks about using the DOH race ethnicity query, which group had the highest age-adjusted death rate due to cancer in 2022 to 2024? So here again, we are going to modify our query. The topic of death is cancer, which is also referred to as malignant neoplasms. And it's asking for years 2022 to 24, so we don't need to change the year. And here we can see we can do this too, that other Pacific Islanders have the highest age-adjusted death rate due to cancer. So hopefully you'll join us in March when we're going to be looking at the 2024 birth record data in HHDW. And again, if you have any questions, please contact us at profiles@hhdw.org. And thank you for joining us today.